and welcome back. I am doing kind of a series of these tumblers that this lady had asked me to make. So I have been very busy making 7 tumblers for her and dealing with my son's broken wrist and going back to school and all the things. Anyways, I'm starting out with a 40-ounce Big Betty from Tipsy Magnolia, right? So I just spray painted this blue and white because her favorite color is blue, and I needed a white base for the top so I could put the Snapdragons and the Ladybugs on there so they would have a place to, come through, because I was going to use a water slide for that. So I just spray painted it, just a basic ombre, not really worried about the paint, and then covered it in the Flynn Sisters epoxy, and now we're going to go into glittering. So I'm using this glitter from the SOC glitter collection. I think it's called Deep Ocean or Ocean Blue or Ocean something. I don't know. I'll have it listed down below. But this is something from Sandy's Organized Chaos. And I just thought it had that really beautiful, just royal blue, which is the color she really liked. And she had come to my house to pick out the tumblers and look at the glitters and things. So she had kind of picked this one out. So I thought this one will be perfect for the bottom. And then also I'm using Frostbit to fill in the afterwards, like to just kind of fill in any of those spots or open places, because it's a much more fine glitter. It's actually from Chase Ray, and it is also this beautiful royal blue that I thought it matched perfectly. So now I'm going to go into because what I want to do is an ombre, right? So I want to do my blue first, and then I'm going to go into putting my white on. Now this is Basic White Girl, I think, from Peachy Olive Glitters. And I just thought that it would have a lot of that kind of blue color coming through, and then it would give us some nice big sparkles, because I was going to be putting a lot of water slides on top of this, so I just wanted kind of a bigger show underneath, hopefully, if that makes sense. So I really enjoy the way that the colors kind of came through and the way that it looks. And also to do the ombre and to fill in, I am taking, I think it's Nookie, but I'm not 100%, might be Silk, but either way, it's a iridescent white to match that iridescent Basic White Girl. So this is where I'm going to take Frostbite, and I'm going to cover that and fill in any of those spots on that blue ombre part. Like I said, the key wasn't to like get a full ombre. It was more to bring in those 2 colors. But when I was going to put the flowers and stuff like that on there, that was going to create the ombre part as well. So you'll see in the end, hopefully it makes sense. But anyways, and then right here, I'm taking the parchment paper that I was letting all of the glitter fall onto, which it also fell all over, evidently. Anyways, I took that parchment paper, and I'm just patting down, because these are very chunky glitters that we put down on the base. And they definitely need, in order to avoid putting 4 things of epoxy, coats of epoxy on here, you want to make sure that you are patting that down. So before I go into my coats of epoxy, I am taking this 50-50 mix of the Crystallite glitter glue and water, and I am soaking this, I am going to seal this glitter in that. Really, I have done it where I haven't done it, and I've done it where I have, but this really does make a dramatic difference in the coats of epoxy and your initial first coat of epoxy. That the glitters are so shiny and silky, and you've been touching that, it just, things happen, and the epoxy just loves to wick away, right? So that means it just loves to pull away from that glitter. So when you put this coat of something like polyacrylic, or if you're doing this Crystal glitter glue and the water mix, some kind of sealant on there, whoever it's made by, whatever it is, but it really does change the outcome of that first coat of epoxy on there so dramatically, and it is so worth it. It, saves you from so much sanding and just coat after coat after coat to try to, get that perfect feel. It just sets you up for a success. So I really would advise doing something along these lines. It says for you to let that Crystal glitter glue dry for about 2 hours, but as a rule, I usually give that as much time as I possibly can. So if I'm going to seal it, I seal it like the night before or that morning, and then I'm doing it later in the evening or something. I usually give it quite a bit of time to cure. I have risked it a couple of times. One time it did not come out good. It made the epoxy all white and milky and everything. But other times I was good. It was okay. But like I said, I would just make sure that it was fully dry. I usually just do that as a step to set it off to the side. I'm not working on that right now. I'm putting that sealant on there, and it is going to sit, and it is going to cure and get dry before I even go anywhere near it for several hours, if not overnight or something like that. So at this point, I've got a lot of glue and epoxy and everything up on the top of this rim. So I'm just taking my kind of set aside box knife that I use, and I'm just clipping off all of those pieces of epoxy that have kind of built up. You can do this, later on when, you've got it built up quite a few layers and all whatnot, but it makes such a big difference when you're doing it one layer at a time and you're knocking those pieces off. It really does help in the end whenever you try to, sand down that top rim and get that stainless steel exposed. It just kind of allows you to have a little bit more ease in that moment. And then, of course, you see here I am doing some sanding. This is after 2 coats of epoxy. The part of the blue part, the blue is more of a metallic, right? So I'm not worried about the top part, but on the bottom with that metallic, you can sand down into the glitter, and you can kind of expose that metal that it's made out of, that metallic polyester, whatever it is underneath it. So I usually try to put a couple of coats on there before I go into a good amount of sanding. And also, you're going to want to sand this, and then you're going to want to put another coat of epoxy, because we're going in with the water slides, and you do not want to put water slides on top of this. With the sanding, it will not come out anywhere near as shiny or as clear as you would like it to be. So I am just taking my alcohol here, and I'm just wiping down all of those sand particles. You can take it and wash it as well. I do that when I'm really getting into sanding on the rim and all of that. But you can just clean it with your alcohol. And this is after a coat of epoxy. Now I am all shiny and clear on the very top there. So now I'm going to go in with my Snapdragons, which I found off of Creative Fabrica. I'll link those down below as well. If you didn't know this, I'm telling you now, but evidently Snapdragons are Scooby-Doo's favorite flower, and this is why, in turn, why these are her favorite flowers. So we had to go with Snapdragons and Ladybugs, because a ladybug landed on her at her father's funeral, and they are very meaningful. So this was a very meaningful cup, and adding those 2 elements that she really loved. And so, sometimes you've got to just take those elements and then say, how can I put them together? Flowers and ladybugs, not too hard of a way, but, and then you've got to add the blue and that kind of thing. So this is just a way to think things, make it simple, or just, adding all those things that the client wants. Okay, so now what I did was I just cut like as much of that paper off as possible. I cut up into down at the bottom there, up into the like leaves and the stems and things like that, because I wanted to be able to kind of form it around that bottom part where it starts to curve on this tumbler. Once again, I'm cleaning the rim. This is just like almost every step of the process, every layer of that I do. I'm taking that excess off the top. Now I printed this image on water slide paper, took it outside. I sprayed it with the clear coat of Rust-Oleum clear, and I probably did, I think, 3 times. I tried to at least do it 3 times, if not more, but I thought 3 times was enough, I think, for this one. And then what I'm doing here is, since it's got to go all the way around, I'm trying to do it almost like a vinyl wrap. So I kind of cut off a little bit of a piece there at the edge so that I could kind of pull it up. But because I sealed this so well, it really was one kind of piece. And so it just wrapped around really well, and it was sealed so well that it just, there wasn't any kind of pulling or tugging or anything like that. So these are all the tips that, sometimes you just want to skip that part, or you just want to just get going and you want to do these are things that you just, if you take your time, like I always say, and don't skip those parts, those steps, don't skip those steps, you really will have a much more successful tumbler, and it will not cause any issues to where you've got to go back and start over or fix or touch up or anything like that. So that's just my tip. It doesn't take too long for water slides to dry, but you do want to make sure that you do not have any kind of water or movement or anything like that with those water slides, because that could cause big problems under epoxy. Epoxy and water do not mix. They don't go together. They don't want to go together. So you want to make sure that that water slide is all on its own and it's doing its thing. It's dried up. It's ready to go before you go and put a coat of epoxy. Now, the reason I'm putting a coat of epoxy on here is because I wanted just another layer, because I wanted those ladybugs to stand out, right? I wanted them to kind of just be right on top of the flowers, like if they landed on the flowers. We're not getting that much depth with one layer of epoxy, but it does just kind of allow for that water slide to be sealed in and safe, and maybe give us a little bit of a lift for those ladybugs to come on there. So, but you just, with these big betties, you always want to make sure that you are covering them from head to toe, from, it all get in those little crevices of those handles, because you will miss a spot on these things, I'm telling you. So just take your time and really go over it. So I started putting these on, and then my son came and he wanted to participate too. So I cut off some of these little ladybugs, and he was putting them on. Now, because it doesn't really matter whether or not they are going one side to the other, you can just put these on upside down and just pull that backing away. It makes life so much easier. But if you do have something that you kind of planned for it to go a certain direction, or words, letters, things like that, you obviously want to make sure you're putting them on with the backing and then pulling that backing out from behind it. But in this case, like I said, the ladybugs can go in any direction and flip flop. So um, I wanted to add enough, but not overwhelm. So, these are types of things that just become such a balance when you're, working on them. Is like, you're just like, but I really want to put one more right here. And then you're like, don't do it, So this is just one of those moments where just use caution, or just, use your feeling and your, anyways. But I printed a pretty big sheet of them, because this is a very large surface, right? So it goes all the way around. It's like 13, inches. And so I just made sure that I had enough to cover, all the way around, and give like pretty much on all of the areas that, you know, if you're flipping the cup around and turning it around, you're getting a ladybug at all those moments and all those views. So now we go into our final coats of epoxy. I've already sanded my rim. I've taken my Dremel and sanded a nice thick rim on there so that we can put these last final coats of epoxy and they will seal to that stainless steel instead of the, you know, coat of glitter and epoxy, and then it's just not a very secure seal. So once you open up a little bit of that stainless steel and you allow that epoxy to go on there, then we're looking at, you know, a much more longer lasting, you know, type of success here on these tumblers. So, you know, each coat of this epoxy was probably about 30, but I was doing a lot of tumblers for her, so I can't really necessarily say exactly, but if I was mixing up just for this one tumbler, I would do 30. And especially for that first coat, I would even maybe do 40 to 50 maybe, because that raw glitter will really soak up a lot of that. And there she is, so beautiful, so spring. I know it's not even anywhere near spring right now and it's so hot, but this is what she wanted. This was a symbolic, this was memorial, you know, memory for her. So I am very happy that she absolutely loved it. And I really feel like the personalization of this really came through. No names or anything. Everything is all in the meaning and the look of it. And so I really enjoyed this a lot. I love working with these Big Betties too. They just have so much you can do with them. But anyways, please like and subscribe and comment down below. Let me know what you think, and please be on the lookout for a lot more tumblers that are going to be for this same lady for different people and presents and things like that. But anyways, see you next time.